That's kind of the way that I've tried to approach it with WRP stuff, and certainly with Trinity as well. Like, I've kind of never done it for the money. It's like I'm doing it because I'm a bike rider. So I want a product that's going to be really good. But in saying that, I think that's where the most authentic stuff comes, because it's like, well, you're doing it for the right reasons then. But I think a lot of Europeans kind of take it for granted. It's just like, oh, it's just a race down the road and it's a World Cup. It's like, it'll always be there. I could do it next year. Whereas Aussies, desperation is probably the wrong word, but for lack of a better term, it creates a bit of desperation. It's like, if we're gonna do this thing, well, like the Chad Reed type of guys.
Yeah, it's all
like,
or nothing. You're burning the boats at some point.
You're just like, let's just send it.
I met a gypsy.
Did you find it, Rains? We'll go back to this. All right, so we're going back to this production rule. So a number of things must remain unchanged from a production motorcycle, even on a full factory race machine like you see under Ryan Dungey or Eli Tomac. But in order to conserve space, frames must remain stock, as can be purchased at a dealer, along with the rear swing arm. Exceptions are made for adding strength to these chassis members. The engine mount locations, along with the steering head, pivot, swing arm pivot point, and rear suspension linkage point, must be the same as the homologated model. Subframes can be replaced, but must be made of steel, aluminium, or titanium, not carbon fiber, unless the stock machine. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Husky comes with a carbon fiber. But the rear subframe must be of a similar design and use the same mounting points as stock. Back when this rule was made, it seemed to make sense, as the machines run by the manufacturers, especially Honda, were so different from stock that it seemed as if nobody could compete if they weren't on the factory team. However, I don't know. What do you think about it? Do you think that there should be like a production rule as such
in MTB?
In moto?
I'm probably out of my depth to talk about moto. You
it's
guys,
an opinion. Come on.
I don't know. I reckon moto would be pretty crazy if they lifted a bunch of those rules. I think you'd see some insane innovation.
What would you like envision?
Dude, I don't know. I think for like closed circuit, like Supercross, I reckon you could end up with a pretty wild looking machine.
Yeah. Because
when you think about it, like motocross bikes are made, we'll put it this way, like I'll use the example like the Trinity. While like it is a downhill bike, you can tell it's a downhill bike, but I guess, I don't know, for lack of a better term, like we're trying to create kind of like an F1 car for the commercial market.
Yeah.
Whereas moto kind of seems to be the other way around. It's like you're making a commercial bike and you're taking the commercial bike. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It'd be like in V8 supercars if they were actually driving around a Commodore. It's like, they're not, it's a space frame.
Yeah.
So like there's something cool about that, I guess, from the manufacturer's point of view, because they can sell like a CRF 450 that's going to be pretty close.
Yeah.
I mean, what Jet Lawrence is on is pretty fucking hopped up. But you know what I mean? Like, as the rules show, like the frame's going to be all the same, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I guess it really ties back to like, what was the bike engineered for?
Yeah.
And I guess what I'm saying is like, say a CRF 450, it was kind of designed out of being like an open track motocross bike.
Yeah.
And they've adapted them to ride in supercross.
Yeah.
I reckon again, I'm out of my depth here, but I like just off the top of my head, I reckon if those rules were all gone for supercross, like Levi Sherwood's FMX bike that he made.
Yeah.
Not saying you would end up with something similar to that, but along the same lines of development, like super light, super small tank. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, true.
I mean, engine displacement, certainly. I know you're a big fan of 350s, but I certainly reckon you'd have like a 350 engine in there, super light.
Yeah, if you made it way lighter, the power to weight ratio.
Exactly,
that's
because
actually
it's
a really
closed
good
circuit,
point,
man. Super tight. Like, look at how stiff those guys are running the suspension.
Yeah.
And it's like they're running it so stiff because they're riding around a motocross bike. Like, it's designed for outdoors. Like, even wheelbase, dude. Like, the wheelbase on a big bike is huge.
Yeah.
Whereas...
Well, so that's why the Yamaha 450 is working so good in Supercross this year.
It's a shorter wheelbase.
Because it's such a short wheelbase. And then motocross, Like the dudes in the MXGPs aren't really liking them. The Aussie boys aren't really liking them. They said they're just too fucking twitchy.
Yeah, see, I didn't know any of that.
Yeah, and it's like they've optimized it for Supercross. Like it's shorter, it's narrower, everything's a bit tighter.
Do you reckon, like this is going off on a tangent, do you reckon that's why Yamaha are doing really well in the lights too? Because they got small, like guys in lights that like generally a bit smaller, probably fit on the bike a bit better if it's short wheelbase.
Yeah, I'm not sure with the
Dunno.
I don't know like what the 250 like kind of dimensions are,
Oh,
but
okay.
I know from the 450 to from 22 to 23, like it's just a completely different bike,
right.
and it's all in the. But I think that people are putting like a 2013 swing arm or 2015 swing arm on the Yamaha 450 because it's longer. So they actually are adding wheelbase to it.
Yeah. So, like, again, I'm probably out of my depth to comment, but honestly, I reckon that's something
very interesting. The point that you just made about there's a production weight rule. I think it's like 100 and find out what the weight rule is for the. I think it's like 112. No, it has to be 108 kilos or something like that. But so. Yeah, you're running a 450 because it's like 100 and something kilos. But imagine if you could make a bike 95 kilos or 85 kilos.
Yeah.
Then you could run a 350 and the power to weight would be
more.
Like you'd have probably a faster motorcycle.
And even like, again, like right back to the very start of our conversation when I was like, oh, people go on about 1%ers, but you add those 1%ers up and then you've got a whole different machine.
Yeah.
So even say like air boxes, right? Like your air filter is designed to be sucking in dirt all day in an outside environment.
Yeah.
Whereas Supercross, it's closed circuit stadium. Like, unless it's like a mud race, you got no dirt getting sucked through that thing compared to an outdoor race.
Huh.
So it's like, I don't know, you could be running that tiny little shit.
Yeah.
Kind of like a tiny little pod filter on the top of like carbs.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. I'm just talking off the top of my ass, but
well, and especially like the location. I think that's one of the cool things with the Yamaha. So like the location, like say your bike, my bike, the air filter is right at the rear wheel where like you're throwing so much shit up.
Exactly.
And then like the Yamaha, they've put it way up top on the tank. So it's like there's even, the positioning and the things that you could do. But I mean, a lighter fuel tank, like if you had the fuel tank where the airbox is basically, like let's think about, you put the fuel tank down there. It's made out of like, even if it's like a carbon fiber, like a bag, like in F1 cars.
True.
You know,
like a cell.
Like literally like a fuel cell. You don't have a fuel tank.
Yeah.
And then you could, because the Stark Varg, dude, that's a really well engineered motorcycle. Like it's brilliant. It's so narrow, man.
Yeah.
And when you go from that to a product like a normal motorcycle again, you just feel this crazy difference. And it's a heavier machine in total, but it feels so much lighter.
Just because of weight distribution? Or?
Well, no, there's no like inertia from
mass.
the engine. Yeah, it's like
sure.
You can feel on a 450 when you've got your piston and crank is on this angle, and then you add more revolutions, it naturally wants to stand up. So like you just eliminate like all that weight. Because
a lot of that stuff too, like you don't really realize it, because you're so accustomed to it.
Yeah.
Until you go try something else and then come back and you're like,
dude, it's insane, dude. We're excited to announce the launch of our new membership site, gypsytales.com, packed with exclusive content and perks that you won't find anywhere else. This is your chance to become a part of the Gypsy Gang. And as a special bonus, if you sign up to an annual membership, you'll be entered into the draw to win our custom-built TC125. Gypsy Gang.